Okay, hey everybody. How is everyone doing today? My name is Clovis Bordeaux, and I'm going to be your instructor here for a few minutes, talk about an introduction to this keyboard class. It's a class for producers, songwriters, composers, people who want to get more use out of their keyboard and learn some of the fundamentals of playing the keyboards. Most of the class is a ten session class, and most of the lessons, I'd say 95% of the information is going to have to do with the keyboard itself, the black and white keys, the shape of, the keyboard, what's high on the keyboard, what's low on the keyboard, sounds. Just want to start really being able to get around on the keyboard, feel out where all the different notes are, being able to name all the names of the notes, and so we can have them in our mind, so we can call them up and use them when we want to be able to use them. Um, so that's basically what this class is about. By the end of the course, the idea is that you would be able to play some chords that go along with your songs, lyrics that you've written, play some scales, some melodies, um, to pick out notes, to be able to match what's happening with your voice, to match it with some notes on the piano, maybe get into some chord progressions, being able to know how to know the difference between different types of chords, like major and minor, for example, and more. So, those are some of the things that we really want to get into. And it's really about being able to get around well on the keyboard. Um, so I want to go ahead and start uh, by saying that with that, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the staff, which is what you see in front of you on the page right now. This is what people use to write music, right? Um, Staff. And believe it or not, you can play a lot of music without getting too involved with ever even looking at the paper. But it's a good idea to be able to know what some of these things are, because you never really know. Uh, like, for example, you might want at some point to write down something that you've written. You might not have a tape recorder handy, or you might not be able to catch that idea as soon as it comes. And so you might want to be able to just make a note. And after you get used to the system that we're going to be using, one of the things that you'll start to notice is that you can recognize tones. I'm not saying that you'll have perfect pitch, but you'll be able to recognize, oh, that sounded like a note that would be on the treble clef. That sounded like a note that would be on the bass clef. You might even get to the point where you can say, oh, that sounded like a C or an A or a G or whatever. Okay, so these are some of the things that we have to look forward to. So today, we're going to really focus our attention on the staff. The staff is made up, first of all, of something that we call lines. Okay, that's pretty obvious. There's a lot of lines there going up and down and crisscross from side to side. You have in between the lines, we have what we call spaces. Okay. We have bar lines. And bar lines are the lines that are going vertically. And we'll talk about that and what those represent, why they're important. And then you have something called a bracket. And then you have a couple of things here that we call clef signs. We have two kinds of clef signs. We have a treble clef, We have treble clef sign, and then we also have a bass clef sign. Okay. What am I leaving out here? And you put all this together, and you wind up with something that we call a grand staff. So that's actually what you're looking at right here. You're looking at the grand staff. Okay. So let's go back and start with go from the top here. So we've got lines. What do we want for the lines? I think let's put a star on the lines. Now notice I'm starting in the middle of this staff. This is the grand staff, right? And I'm starting right here in the middle. Okay. Now I'm going to count up because these notes are getting higher and higher and higher and higher, right? So if I want to figure out the best way to figure out how to number these lines is we'll count from the lowest one to the highest one. One. Okay. And we'll go up from there, right? So we'll make this a one. Let me put my little star on here. That'll be the first line. Okay. Now that's for the treble clef. For the bass clef, the first line isn't going to be the bottom one. It's going to be this one. That's the first line in the bass clef. Confusing? Maybe a little bit, but just think about in the middle. Think about how people, when they first started using paper to, create a system for writing music, they started off with just one line. Okay. And that would be there for everybody. Okay, everybody, this is the note we're going to start on. Now, the next note we want to sing, we want to go up in pitch. Now, it just makes sense that since we're moving in this direction, we would put the note above the line. And now, if we want to go down, it makes sense again that we would put the note below the line. Okay. So that's really what this system is kind of like all about. You have these different ways of notating music, and music is very complex when you start to look at all of the many different ways and all the around the world that people have chosen to notate music. And it seems like it's getting more complicated all the time, but we don't need to complicate it. It's very simple. It's an up motion and a down motion. Up is above the line, down is below the line. Okay, so we said we had what? We said we had 5 lines. So where's my color dot? Oh, here it is. We want our next second line to be right here. Boom. That's our second line on the treble clef. Second line on the bass clef is down below. Third line, fourth line, fifth line. That gives us 5, right? 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 lines. All right. So we have 5 lines in the treble clef, 5 lines in the bass clef. Okay. So those are the lines. Now, in between the lines, we have something called spaces. But before I do that, I just want to make sure you understand that you can also add lines to this. You can put a line right there. You can put a line down here, put a line up here. Okay. So you can add lines to that. We'll talk about that. And those lines are called, they have a name. We call those ledger lines. Okay. Ledger lines. Uh-oh, I just erased all of our information there. I really didn't mean to do that. Don't tell me I'm gonna have to start all over again. Okay, so we're talking about the clefs, the staff, grand staff. We're talking about the lines, spaces, and I'll add ledger lines here. And we have clef signs. We have a treble clef sign. We have a bass clef sign. Bass is down low. And we have bar lines. And we have a bracket. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. All right. So now we can look at our spaces, because in between each one of in where you have these two lines right here, we're going to have, my thing is not working today. I don't know what it is, but anyway, here's my heart. Got a heart there. That's a space. Between these first two lines, you have a space, right? And I'm putting hearts on all the spaces, okay? All right, here's a space, 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 right? And if I draw a line, a ledger line right there, I can also have a space right here. And I can have a space right here. Okay. I can have a space above the staff right here. I can have a space below the staff. Uh-oh, that's not really on the space, is it? That's more on the line. We want it on the space. Okay, so it's more in the space than it is on the line. So anyway, this is all we're talking about as far as the way the music paper is laid out. And there's just an introduction. We're not expecting, to really have a full mastery of all this right now, but these are just some basic things to get us started. Okay, so let's go back. Let's clear this up a little bit with all these lines and spaces. And we talked about the ledger line. Okay, we know what a grand staff is. We know what a line is. We know what the spaces are. We know what ledger lines are. Let's talk about the treble clef sign. Now, this right here, this is the treble clef sign. Let's see if I can get it to highlight. And I want blue. I don't like that color. Nice shade of blue here. So treble clef, right? Treble clef, treble clef. All right. What does it mean? It means the notes are high. Okay. And let's make the bass clef a different color. Let's make the bass clef a nice bassy color. Let's try green. Okay. Now, I hope you notice that I'm being very particular about marking those two dots, because the dots are the reason why the bass clef is sometimes called the F clef. So we're not going to get into a lot of detail on that, but the just for your knowledge and information, the bass clef is sometimes called the F clef. That didn't work. Um, Sometimes bass clef is called the F clef. I did it again. I erased my whole paper. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to put it up again. Um, I think that's about it. All right. Yeah, we have a bass. I wonder if I can undo that. What is this? This is maestro on the notation. I don't think they're letting me undo it. No. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? Undo. There it is. Oh, they let me undo it. Okay, great. All right. So, what have we not talked about? I think we just about got everything. Um, we got the grand staff. Now, let's be clear here. This grand staff, you always know it's a grand staff. A grand staff means you just put a treble and a bass staff together. Okay. And you always know you have a grand staff when you have this kind of little pattern right here. Okay. Let's get a highlighter. This right here, this is what makes it a grand staff. Okay. That's the bracket, right? The bracket makes it a grand staff. With the grand staff, now you can get high notes, or you can get low notes. Okay. So let's see. Is that everything? We talked about the treble clef sign. We talked about the bass clef sign. We talked about the bar lines. And we talked about the bracket, the grand staff. Oh, okay. Bar lines. We didn't talk about bar lines, so we'll talk about them right now. The bar lines are right. Mm, bar lines are right here. Uh, get a nice wide highlighter right here. These are the bar lines. Okay. And that's actually a double bar. That double bar right there, that's technically it means that's the end of the song. Of course, this isn't a song or anything, it's just a thing. But it's showing you what a bar line looks like. And most of the time when you're looking at music, you won't see a double bar until you get to the end of the song. And it has a very important function, kind of like to separate the music into groups. It's like we were talking before about this whole thing of, okay, we've got notes above the line, we got notes below the line. That tells you how high and how low the notes are. But when you have a bar line, that's going to tell you how the notes have been grouped. So maybe the person wanted to sing these two notes before these two, without the lines, they weren't able to group it. The bar line helps you to, like, for example, let's say, okay, we're just gonna make a rule that all of our bar lines are every time we have four notes, we're gonna add a bar line. Okay. Every time we have four notes. Okay, one, two, three, four. And we'll add our bar line. Okay. And then we'll put a big four at the beginning of the song to let us know that we have four. Okay, so that's a little introduction. I wasn't planning to get into too much of that kind of thing, but you know, it's just a quick thing for you to know what some of these things mean, because there's going to come times when you absolutely will see, you'll see a four here, right? this will look like 4, 4. So, but we're not gonna get into all that today. Okay, so anyway, that's it. That's everything for today. So your assignment is really to find a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be music paper. It can just be a blank piece of paper and start drawing some of this stuff. And I'll give you a hint. Let me give you a hint on how to draw a treble clef. Treble clef is very simple. You make a line straight down like this. That line's not thick enough. Y'all can't see that line. Make it heavier. You draw a line down. Then you draw half of a circle like that. And then you draw another half of a circle like that. Right? And then you do a whoop. And you have to say, when you draw it, you have to say, whoop, whoop, like that. It helps you to give it a better shape. The bass clef is very simple. You take a dot. First, you draw a dot. And, right? Do that again. What happened to my dot? Draw a dot. Okay. And now this way, on your whoop, you go the other way. You say whoop, like that. And then you put 2 dots on the outside. That's called the bass clef. Okay. Bass clef side, treble clef side. That's so just, you know, those are just some tips, some highlights about what some of the things that we might come across as we go along. And as we go, we'll talk about them. We'll continue to explain them and what they're for and how they work and what they do and how they were invented and all that kind of stuff. But it's good to know a little bit like this. So the next time we get together, we won't be doing um, the music paper like this. The next time we're actually going to be looking at the keyboard. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this. You can as well. And, you might want to just save it. Okay, let's see here. For your future reference. Let's see, where's my screenshot machine? Okay. So anyway, that's basically it for today, you all. Please let me know, leave me a message. Let me know if there's any questions that you have, things that you might want to know that's, that's in part of this topic of conversation. Oh, here we go. How about that? Okay, so we'll capture that. All right, and also we have a video that will be done and it'll be sent out to everybody. Okay, thank you all for watching today. Have a great one, and I'll see you on the next time. Take care. Bye.